Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Good evening, welcome to the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors series. We're here at the wonderful Daytona for our season finale. Yes, it's the final round of 2022 Season 2, Round 12. Brings us to our conclusion. My name's Adam Hadfield. In the box with me tonight, as ever, we've got Sam Fitzpatrick on the other mic and Jonathan Grabowski on cameras. So, Sam, last week of the season, is there anything, any storylines that you think are needing to be finished? All the championships are pretty much wrapped up now. I think most people are probably just here for pride tonight, see if they can't add to their win tally.
I think so, and I think this is a very good track to add to that win tally. This is such a high-speed, slipstreamy circuit. There'll be a few drivers, maybe even some of the Spec 2 drivers who think, I could win this race, get a good qualifying, get in that lead pack, save a bit of fuel, and you could be right in the hunt as long as you're within about half a second of the top pace. And of course that final lap as well is going to be so exciting with the run to the line. And so yeah, I think that's just going to be the aim for a lot of these guys, get that race win or get, you know, maybe their best results of the season, because this track can offer up some surprises.
Yeah, once again, our champion-elect Aero Nom there will be looking to steal another win this season. He's got 3 on the board already. Let's see if he can't make it 4 out of 12, snatch that 30% record, which is always a good return haul, isn't it, for your end of season? But as you said, Daytona, it's not an easy one to actually plan out your victory. You're almost guaranteed to be coming to the line with several of the drivers drafting off you, aren't you? I can't imagine it'll be any more than 4 wide across the line. What's your bet for the cross the line photo finish?
I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? We have no idea who's going to be there, but I think we'll have a lead pack of 5 coming out of the chicane. And then, because the track isn't that wide, so it might be tricky for them to go 4 wide, but I'll go 3 wide. I'll go 3 wide across the line. I think it's very possible. There is the draft, and you can see how Lin, in qualifying, it's absolutely essential that you get a good draft. Can Lin promote himself up some places? No, he can't. So he's left himself a lot to do. Lin, 2-time winner this season, I want to say. Phillip Island and another race. Okayama, of course, I think, are the 2 race wins. Murakami, winner of the Masters Championship, and he is spinning off into the pit lane right there. The Miura team racing driver, that's an end to his qualifying. And just a couple more drivers now crossing the line, completing their last lap times. But in qualifying, you need to have that toe. I mean, a toe around this pace, that's, you know, upwards of a second, I imagine, Adam.
Oh yeah, you're going to lose sort of 5 or 6 rows worth, aren't you, if you're not towing off someone. Most of these drivers are smart enough to be able to position themselves and get that all-important draft, cut through the air that little bit cleaner, reach a better VMAX and a shorter lap time as a result. Now, I don't have my heads-up display right now, Sam, but I wonder if Jonathan wants to throw the points up and you could, for a change, read them out on this occasion.
No problem. We should have them up in just a moment. And of course, the 3 championships that we have for this series, we have the Spec 1, the top division, about 3,000 iRating plus, and then the Spec 2, which is below that, and then the Spec, apologies, the Masters, which is the drivers who are 55 years or older. There is the Spec 1 nom ahead of Arabian. Yeah, pretty much all signs up is that one. Lynn in 3rd position. And there's Jason Green, who's a little bit detached now actually as Green, but should still be able to beat Marnie. Bertoni Elson, who's had a good second half of the season. Jesus, Weiger, and Huraski rounding out the top 10. Always think that Huraski is always around 15th place and always like in the mix. He's never like far away from another driver. He's maybe a driver who might fancy his chance of getting a podium tonight if he did a good qualifying. Then in the Spec 2 standings, I cannot currently see them, but oh, I can see them, apologies. Thomas Renders is at the top, and again, it's been a really good season for him ahead of Flavia Andele. He's had some good rounds as well, actually, and like both of them have really driven well this season. Then Spavini, Mccain, Simpkins, Gibson, Jackson, Botunga, Sancinelli, and Baglini in 10th place. And in the Masters category, it's been a mighty season put together by Chris Murakami. He is way ahead of Antonio Reyes, who of course came so close to winning that race last time out, or 2 weeks ago at Okayama. Just about missed out. However, Reyes has got 1 less race counted. You can see the numbers indicate how many races each driver is being counted towards their total, and Murakami there with 9, Reyes with 8, so that will close down, but as far as I'm aware, Reyes is still too far back and Murakami can just use his drop score should he have a bad round, so I think that should all be fine for him. And then yeah, a Reyes, Burkitt, Bradshaw and Kern rounding out the top 5 as we're now in the 3 minutes warm-up session.
Yep, just a few more minutes to go before we make our way to the grid. Obviously, before we go any further, we should mention our sponsor, RaceVoice. These championships wouldn't be taking place without their sponsorship. So let's give a little shout out to them. They're proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Weekend Warriors Spec Race Ford Racing Series. You too can take your driving to the next level with on-track audible performance alerts with RaceVoice and RaceVoiceSIM. Here, miles per hour, turn entry and exit speeds, upshift alerts and other performance metrics which are selected and configured by you. Go faster with the speed of voice. Plus, Weekend Warriors can get 50% off their annual sim pricing using the promo code of WW50. If you want to take a little bit of time, check them out at www.racevoice.com. So, like I said, just a couple of minutes left to go. I imagine all the drivers by now, we say it every week, they should have their apex points, their braking points all sorted out, but we do like to see a couple of cars out there on track just to watch them go round, and they'll be just dialing everything in for the last second. I imagine everyone knows this track back and frontwards. You could drive it with a blindfold, couldn't you, Sam? I know I've been around here enough times.
Yeah, no, a few people on the watching on YouTube, and thanks for joining us, will notice that this is slightly different, and you got to put your finger on what's different compared to around this track compared to normal. Well, this is the old one. This is the Circa 08 layouts. So the one which comes free with iRacing, it's identical. Even the infield is identical, I believe. I remember being really disappointed when Marco Barbier told me that the infield is actually the same, that iRacing can be bothered to rescan it. And so the oval, and I guess the bus stop as well, I mean the bus stop looks totally different at least, but the oval as well is is different, but obviously it's just flat art anyway, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. Graphics-wise, it looks a bit worse, but yeah, it just looks strange, and all the colours are slightly different. Maybe it just shows off how well iRacing's graphics have come on over the years, because yeah, it does just look a bit unusual.
Yeah, it's nice to see that sort of contrast in and development that's been taking place over the years. I think, when will this have been scanned? I know it's the 2008 course, but obviously iRacing wasn't really available at that stage to most of the general population. I don't know if it was in beta stage at that point or not, so I just wonder when it was actually made available and how many years it has been a part of the service for.
Well, I think iRacing went live, I think, in 08. I think I remember Sam Kumo was one of the first members. I'm not sure if this was one of the base circuits. I think there was 4 base circuits. I think it's like Summit Point, and then, but I don't think this was one of them. So maybe like only 09, I think maybe was the first year for this circuit. It doesn't look as bad as Lime Rock and Summit Point, thank goodness, or Virginia. I think Virginia may have been another of the original circuits actually, but I think down in Florida it took them a bit longer to scan this place. It is nice to have it on, and what a strange circuit it is. So good to have it on the sim, because I think in terms of a race circuit, there aren't many better on iRacing.
No, certainly not. Certainly not for getting your bang for your buck in your door-to-door action. Obviously, we also always see the 24-hour race here every year, which is always a good watch. Multi-class there. I believe we've got quali up again, Sam. I'm sorry, but I've not quite got my overlays working, so I don't know if you want to take this away.
That is no problem. Stephen Macdonald is at the top. Have we seen Macdonald much this season? I don't think so. His team is coming up as Mid-South, and by the way, we've got a full formation up here, so we can meander through this grid, no pressure whatsoever. So he's from the Mid-South, clearly, and then Eranon in 2nd position, 1/10 of a second clear, 1/10 of a second behind, sorry. There's Bertoni, Sean Campbell, who's been in very good form recently, Naselli, Pinero, Arabian 2nd place in the championship, car number 2 down in 7th place. There's Marcus Burkitt, another good qualifying for him. Albin Carlson, you can see by the grey, I think a new driver, so welcome Albin, best of luck to him, Scandinavian driver. Then it's Chris Murakami, Antonio Reyes, so the Masters doing well there. Jurg Mani lines up in 12th position. It is Stevie Ray, really good qualifying for Stevie as well, well done out there. James Walker, Ayub Hamda, Yarbus Dalage, Michael Nelson, Simon Mayer, Yangtze Lin, disappointing for Lin, 1.2 seconds off. Wonder if he didn't have any teammates to get a draft off that. I can only imagine that's why he's so far off. Jim Brewster is in 20th place. Then it's Andrew Love, Jeff Jacobson, Jeff Cantor, Jeff Richer. That's the trio right there. As we're just having a couple of issues with the grid. I think just overwhelmed by the Jeffception right there. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Can't do the classes are coming up separately, but we've got it back now. So all the Jeffs, and then Alan McCain, Ian Gibson, Kurt Nunez, Jason Green. Jeez, Green's got a lot of places to gain, hasn't he? He's 5th place in the overall championship. Watch out for him to be moving up. Jesus Rodriguez is up there in the championship as well. He's top 10 in the championship. Adam Bradshaw, Bob Kern, Mara Haraski, Hugh Simpkins, Darren Curran, Bradshard Gould, Guy Warbots in 36th. And then 37th is Mark Sherman. There's Johan Botanga, Jonathan Gaston, Yulan Pastor, Chris Montgomery, Bruno Conti, and Brian Harris. Lots of pros out of position there, I'd say, on that grid. I mean, you look at the timing boards, Adam, and I mean, it pretty much has no order whatsoever. You've got reds, you've got greens, and you've got yellows all over the place.
Yeah, it's a real mix, isn't it? We've got a real rainbow effect almost, but I guess it's to be expected when drivers are basically relying on getting a toe at the right moment to set their fastest times. I mean, obviously they had plenty of time to find that toe, but some drivers will just have benefited more than others, and the natural outcome of that is something of a mixture. As we slowly make our way down onto the back straight now. Watching Steve Macdonald. We go on board with Sean Campbell, last time's winner, after a fabulous battle with Aero Nom and Wang Shi Lin. We'll be hoping for that multiplied by 2 or 3, I think, tonight. I'm expecting excellent racing, plenty of side-by-side as we work our way through the bus stop chicane. It's about a third of the speed. Still got to climb around that banking. I'm not sure how quickly the safety car will get out of the way here. I think it is, being on the oval, it takes a while to actually to remove itself, doesn't it, Sam? So we might still have a good 20 seconds here before we actually put pedal to the metal.
Yeah, it's a long way usually, let alone when you're behind the pace car. I think you're absolutely right. I think the line that the safety car takes would be illegal for anyone else to take. I mean, it'll pretty much be cutting across the grass and the green flag will come out very soon afterwards. But it's not that important in the first lap. Just get through the first lap, guys. Don't get any damage. Don't, harm your straight line speed, and then you'll be in play come the final few minutes when we get the draft battles igniting.
As we come towards the line now, pit lane off to your left. Safety car's going to dive left at the very last moment, no doubt, and then we will be going green under the control of Stephen Macdonald. He's still slowly working his way up to the line, decided not to go yet, and there he goes. Puts his foot down and we're away. 43 drivers stream into turn 1. Now it's always tricky into turn 1. It's a heavy braking zone. After a long run to it, let's see if everyone makes it through. We've got 3, 4 wide in the middle there. Oh, a little bit of bumping. Oh, and some cars have just come together. Oh, someone spins out. Is that Murakami, I believe, who's facing the wrong way? Well, I think we had 2 or 3 drivers the wrong way for a second there, didn't we? Oh, and now we've got more contact. There's at least 4 or 5 drivers, and I think Chris Murakami, having been facing the wrong way, is taking another wallop.
Oh, another issue for Reyes and Burkett there. Oh, that's a shame. They were first and third. I think they turned into first and second, actually, in the Masters category. It's mean that Nelson, I think, has gone from 4th in the Masters to first. They're pretty much doing nothing, but he's up 5 places anyway. Amazing stuff for James Walker. He gained 6 places. Delague in 7 places. Must have absolutely nailed the launch, but there were a few issues for the drivers in the lower reaches of the top 10.
Yeah, anytime you can just avoid the trouble in front of you, you're going to make places. Let's check this replay out. Oh, it's the lightest of contacts, that's sent him round, and then there's been a little bit pinball. Oh, and almost everyone avoided him. The last driver to get by couldn't quite decide left or right, and further damage for Chris. I don't know if he's still running now. If he is, he's heavily damaged, and obviously any damage on a track that's so dependent on your top speed is not going to work out. We joined the leaders now. Aero Nom taking the lead. It didn't take him long, did it? From second place, but Tony's moved up into second. As we check a replay, we've got further incident here. This is Antonio Reyes we're looking at right now. He's on the inside of a 3-wide situation. Seems to be fairly clean. Oh, and then he's just drifted left. No need to do that. The next corner's a left-hander. He could have just stayed to the right there, but for whatever reason, he's just turned himself over the nose of his rival there.
Yeah, that was his collision with Burkett, and that has totally transformed the Masters category, with Murakami also having issues. I think those 3 may have won all the Masters races this season. I mean, that's I'm not 100% sure about that one, but they certainly have been dominating throughout the season. So yeah, opportunity for someone else to be able to take a race win. As currently we've got a lead train of 8, and that is very important. Can you break the jump? Because track position, it doesn't matter. Nom is in the lead. He could be down in 8. It doesn't really matter either way, because they'll just be towing each other around. The big question is, can you break the draft? And currently Carlson's actually done a good few corners there. He's in P9, he's only 9/10 of a second behind Walker. But, you can see how much, earlier on the breaks a few of these drivers are. And there is Carlson pushing hard around this middle part of the lap. This is where he can gain a little bit of time, and then it will be on the big straights that he can tow back up. But honestly, I think if Carlson can have a couple of good corners here, he could really tow him and this pack, which goes all the way down to about, Cantor down in 22nd place. They all could drag up to the race leaders.
Yeah, I think if you're within a second and a half, you'll definitely have that opportunity to pull back in. It's just whether the driver you're drafting himself has a better draft. You know, if you're a second and a half off, and the guy ahead of you has only 3/10 to the next drive, then he's obviously going to be pulling away from you at a little bit of a rate. So as long as everyone's equally spread, they should all close back up as we go heavy braking into the bus stop chicane once again. Make sure to use all that curb, both on the entrance and on the exit. There is a little bit of a slowdown penalty. I know certainly on the newer version, on the exit there. I imagine it's the same case here. If you take a bit too much curb, start running through the grass.
Yeah, and the drivers as well will have to watch out for the 1Xs because I think they're limited to, is it 12 incidents for this series?
12.
So it's a really small amount. I'm amazed every week how few drivers get incidents. Whoa, that was contact at very high speed there. Was that Lin versus Marnie? I think going at, and that was very nearly, well, it was contact, and they did well not to completely collide with one another. That's the 25 going extremely deep. That is Marnie, in fact, pulling ahead there, so that was a strong move from him, and he's just behind Hamza. So it's now, yeah, so Carlson is still a little bit detached, gap up to 1.4 seconds now between Carlson and SA, but Carlson gains so much in the middle part of the lap whilst everyone ahead of him are sort of counteracting each other on the brakes. That the gap kind of comes back down again almost instantly. But yeah, some good racing so far. We've got, at least in the lead pack, lots of clean cars, albeit a few others down the order having to take early fast repairs, and they will need to pit again, of course.
Yeah, Wang Shilin already up 4 places. We're concentrating on Mccain at the moment. Oh, and then we switch straight back to Lin. He's got a few cars immediately in front of him that he can work his way through. He's just been side by side with Fritsch for about half the last lap. Luckily for him, he's managed to clear him. Nelson, Marnie and Hamda, the immediate cars in front. And you can see on the timing tower, the drivers, the two have gained and lost. Bradshaw, the name that probably drops out the most at you there, with 10 places gained up to 20th, the number 929. We're watching here. The flip side of that, Stevie Ray, though, series organiser, down 12 positions at the moment, so a really poor start for him. Obviously must have got involved in some form of kerfuffle in those opening incidents.
Yeah, Ray was sort of in the epicentre of where everything was happening. I think he qualified like P12, didn't he? So yeah, apparently we're getting word that he was in the Murakami instance. So that is why he was sent down. Really, anyone around those positions was doomed with everything that was going on around them. So Nom's still somehow in the lead. I'm not sure if they're bump drafting each other so far, but there goes Arabian very quick around the outside, and Arabian will now take the lead. But Tony is also going up high. He's got a very good run, but you know, they'll be very patient down into turn 1. You need to lift and coast. You need to save fuel. You may even get onto the clutch, but apparently that doesn't yield a benefit to you anymore. Marnie's up into 10th position. Meanwhile, you can see that timing tower. Any gaps now? Still Carlson a little bit away from the saber. He's actually had a good lap there as Carlson. So they are getting back together, and this is what I like to see. I like to see the longest chain possible. We've got a chain now down to 15th place. Mccain is very much detached, but the top 15 are all well and truly in a snake and will have a chance at the race win.
Yeah, all of them will have that opportunity, because you can bet your bottom dollar there'll be a little bit of chaos somewhere. It might not be until the very end. These drivers might be playing it the long game, just keep within the group for the moment. That being said, though, obviously if you are sort of outside the top 10 at the moment, you're still in the snake, but there's always a chance it'll get detached at some point. Any extended battle, drivers will become detached. So those at the back might be a little bit nervous, might decide that they want to move forward somewhat. Of course, that's far easier said than done, especially when you can just hop straight back into the draft and possibly overtake your rival once again. Arabian leads for the moment. We're looking at Bradshaw pushing Brewster past Mccain. He's giving a good old shove there. That seems to be working for the two of them. They fly past Mccain. And Nunez is behind them as well somewhere. He might even be helping. Oh, and as we come to the braking zone, it always just makes me clench up just that little bit. Drivers need to give half a car's length just to make sure they're not tripping over each other normally.
Yeah, because when you're that close behind, I mean, you can imagine it, you know, driving in real life. I only passed my driving test a couple of years ago, and you're always meant to leave I think it's 6 car lengths. No, it's not 6 car. It's 2 seconds. Jeez, I should know this. 2 seconds on the dual carriageway or motorway because it gives yourself some reaction time. As this is all kicking off now for these drivers, they have become detached. So Lynn is detached now from the top 10. So this could be quite significant. They've had a poor lap out of these drivers, and I think that was that Nelson dropping a bunch of positions. Delago now at the back of this one. Delago, who gained some places off the line, he was up in the top 10 at one point, but unfortunately has slipped down, and now it's Lynn leading this pack, which is probably the best man to lead it because we have seen Lynn exceptionally quick this season, also brilliant on fuel as well, but he's got to push hard now and close that gap to Marnie so he can start yielding that drive.
Yep, Delago was our first Spec 2 driver on the grid. He remains the leading Spec 2 driver in 15th at the moment. Last of the drivers in this queue of 15 cars all together. You see there a little bit of a gap between Lynn and Marnie, though. That gap's opened out to just over a second, so... But obviously that was probably a part and parcel of Lynn getting to the front of that group. Last time we checked in with him, he was about 14th. He's up to 11th now. We'll just have to hope that he's not detached himself too much. I don't think he will have done, though. He's still within a second, and all these drivers are obviously going to have to breathe out of the throttle a little bit early when we get down to braking for the bus stop. We see the front two side by side, Arabian and Bertoni. Arabian to the outside for the moment. Bertoni backs out of it well before the braking zone. He does slot back into the group, and that just compresses everyone just a little bit. That's another issue you've got to be watching out for. We've already mentioned, make sure you leave gaps for your braking when you're right under someone. Also, you've got to watch out if drivers swap and change lanes into any of these heavy braking zones, both at the bus stop and the first turn hairpin. Watching Sean Campbell now, reigniting his battle with Aero Nom. Aero will be sick of the sight of him, I imagine, after last week. Very much like a few drivers between him, I imagine, as we go 2x2, 3 deep across the line. There's that Walker coming from right at the back there. He got a huge slipstream, slingshots right to the front, and that just gives you some idea, I imagine, of what we're going to see come the final lap. If there's still 15 cars there, oh, and Walker goes in very, very deep. Oh, he's just about going to keep it on the black stuff, I think, but lost all those positions. Very entertaining. I can say nothing else about that one.
Well, I think he was he 5th coming out of the bus stop and goes to the lead. So that, yeah, I mean, as you said, I mean, that's what we're going to see on the last lap. You don't want to be second. Usually we say, oh, you don't want to be leading. Oh no, that's a spin in the background. That's Nelson. And that could, we're not going to have another leader. We are going to have another leader. It's Bradshaw now to the front of the Masters category. And Nunez is right on his tail. So I think that's 4 different leaders we've now had in the Masters category, albeit 3 of them shared it in the first 3 corners of the race. So craziness right there. And yeah, it's now Bradshaw ahead of Nunez. But these guys are attacking a lot, as you just saw the aeroplane, I think. In the background coming to land, so like nice little element. You should keep an eye out on that on the broadcast. Quite cool stuff. But yeah, Walker, yeah, going from 5th to 1st. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be 2nd, you don't want to be 3rd, you don't want to be 4th on the last lap. You want to be 5th, so you get the mega turn.
Yeah, that's right. We don't just model cars on our racing, we model the planes in the background as well. This track, obviously, in the real world, near to an airport. I don't know if Donington has that feature as well. Donington being right next to the airport. I don't remember off the top of my head if they...
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I was just going to say Bellar has got a boat, and one of the dirt tracks has got a train. I don't think Donington's got anything. I think because it was modelled so long ago, they haven't updated it for a while, but no, that would be cool.
Planes, trains and automobiles, they should call it, shouldn't they? Oh, as we go back to Lynn and Fritscher, swapping places once again. These guys have become detached though now. And suddenly a big 2 seconds. Oh, Aero Nom's in the pits. Out of nowhere, Aero Nom first to pit. We've only got 12 minutes on the clock. I'm sceptical of this particular move. Surely you want to be in a draft pack and saving fuel. This is really a turn for the turn up for the books. Maybe he's just thinking of the possible risk of being around that many drivers.
Well, with them batting this much, it's got to be his logic that they're going to start costing each other time. But we've seen this strategy. Oh no, we've got an incident. That's Walker.
Walking around.
What's that with Naselli? or was it? I think it may have been with Marnie actually, because Marnie was moving his way up. That's a big shame for Walker, who has looked very strong so far in this race. I think he has led in a couple of times. Wow, that was the big crash for the 933. Gosh, that's one of the big incidents that you can sometimes get. So that was Booster Sosa. I think Booster was second place out of the. They wasn't second place out of the Masters, but yeah, he has to drop down.
Just
Either way.
first, hadn't
Oh, had he? Okay. Well, yeah, it was very close between him, Bradshaw, and
sorry,
Nunez.
I'm possibly misquoting my B's there. Either
Here's
way,
what
he's
happened
out of
to,
this one. Now we've got. This is Walker going round. Oh, and there's not even any contact there, is there? Looks like a little bit of netcode from where I'm sitting. I don't know if you got a better view of that, but I think Marnie was close, but not that close, and around he went.
Didn't look like any contact from my angle, but I saw it from the worst angle possible, I think. I think that was a car in the way. So here we go. This will give us a better idea. Was it netcode? Was it proper contact? Oh, I think that's netcode. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he's spinning up the tyres there, but I don't think he'd be unable to control that one. So that's a shame, and he's lost the draft, and he's got some hard work to do to catch back up.
Yeah, he's somewhat on his own now, in 11th place, several seconds away from the lead, a couple of seconds ahead of the next pack. There are more drivers in the pits. Campbell's in there now. He's decided that Aeronom might be onto something as he slowly works his way down the main lane. You see Brewster just momentarily in the pits, having towed after his incident. Flick back to Lynn. He's still fighting with friction. Oh, is that Marnie in the wall? We've got a driver in the wall. I think it's Jörg Marnie, the number 25, yeah. Now, I imagine he's going to have had help to end up there. That's not the usual place for an incident. We'll grab a replay as soon as we can. But they're suddenly dropping like flies. Nom goes to the pits, and all of a sudden we've gone from 10 cars to about 6 at the front. As
So
replays up, let's see.
To Marnie. Also, Bertoni gets a bit of contact ahead. There's a check-up. And, oh, Marnie's just dipped the wheel onto the dirt. And, well, I think in a scenario like that, maybe that is this old scan of the circuit, because I'm not sure if there is dirt exactly like that. I think the curve may actually extend a bit longer on the newer version. So, you know, that's maybe the small little differences that can catch you up. So, big disappointment there. Here comes Nom moving his way through. So, Nom, we haven't got a representative lap yet for Nom. He only just did his out lap, so we don't know what his pace is compared to the leaders, but they are still fighting out in the lead. Sometimes, I think at Spa, for example, they were fighting very hard. Nom came into the pits and then are like, all right, guys, let's focus here and work together. Hasn't quite happened so far. It's a bit chaotic in this lead pack. You sort of want to exchange the lead, use it a bit like they do on the velodrome, where, you know, you have one driver who leads for a bit and then another driver can slingshot their way past, a bit like we're going to see here. But that's very tricky to do, and of course if you're alongside going into a corner, that can cause problems. Even if you're just close to another driver going into a corner, it can put yourself off your braking point. You may brake a little bit later if you're the lead car, just to avoid any incidents. But yeah, let's see how they can choreograph this. They seem to be fighting very hard. The Arabian doesn't want to give up on this.
Yeah, Carlson's coming to the front now. We mentioned he was a driver that was a little bit detached. Obviously, incidents and some fast laps from himself has seen him up to the front. One thing we haven't mentioned, Nom's come out of the pits. Sean Campbell's also been into the pits. There's a 3-second gap between them all of a sudden, and it's all on their stop times. Aero Nom's stationary for a full 14 seconds, whereas Sean Campbell, he was only in there for 10 seconds. Well, 10.7 to be absolutely precise for you. But yeah, it's a big gap, and there you see it on screen. Sean Campbell moving up into 18th now. A couple of drivers who haven't pitted having their battle. Simpkins and Green, that is, 19th and 20th, and then Aeronom's in the background. So quite what Aero was doing in the pits, whether he overshot his box or he really felt he needed that much more fuel than whatever Sean's calculated. We'll have to see.
I wonder if he's banked on another lap, because we've got Hamda was stationary for 11 seconds, Marnie 13, and then you've got some big ones. Huraski 16.5, Ray 15.5. although they pitted, well, everyone should take the same amount of fuel. Basically, we've got a very wide range of pit stop times so far in this race, and so I'm not quite sure if he's got it right. We will only really find out later on, but yeah, I wonder if maybe Campbell has calculated those numbers based on having a draft at the end of the race, and that might put him in trouble later on, but it's given him track position. For now, that is, as you're saying, quite a significant gap between the two of them.
Yeah, if they're using some kind of hit app or add-on just to calculate their fuel as an automatic system, obviously that can only work on the laps that you've done in the session, in your practice or qualifying, to predict what you'll use. And if you've spent all that time either in the draft or out on your own, they're going to come up with some very different numbers. So it's a little bit up in the air. Obviously, Sean Campbell and any driver running in the low 10 to 11 second pit stop time might find that he needs to find a partner to draft behind before the end of it, or alternatively, Aeronom might just be bursting with fuel, as we just saw. As that Carlson, number 22, sliding wide a little bit. It's just given Bertoni a 7/10 lead. That's the biggest gap we've seen so far at the front. It won't last till the end of the lap, of course, but I wonder if Arabian might even just wonder how far he can let the gap go and how far he needs to have a perfect draft to the line. So all these drivers have got to be thinking about it. Where will I need to be exiting the chicane? Where can I draft from to win this race?
At the moment, I think it might be turning into a two-horse race, because Aeronom on that last lap was 1.5 seconds faster than these drivers in clean air. These guys are still battling with one another. They're not working together, and so Nom just did a 2 minute 6.6, but only 2 minute 8.1. So even with that safe pit stop, he's now ahead of Sean Campbell, is Aeronom. I think he basically got the perfect draft there. He was just catching up to the cars ahead throughout that lap, and put in an absolute blistering time, which I doubt will be beaten for the rest of the race. So these guys really need to start thinking about this one, because I think if they pitted now, unless they had a sub 10 second pit stop, it would probably lose out to Aeronom, who'd be able to break the draft. Good news for them though, of course, is that they are saving fuel at least by being with one another, whereas Nom punching a hole into clean air, at least now, he maybe is not saving as much fuel as these drivers, but I think it's still advantage Nom, and that early pit stop seemingly is working as he planned so far.
Yeah, you mentioned we were waiting for a first representative time from Aeronom. Well, what about that for a time? Down in the 206s, we're definitely not going to see that one beat. As we're on board with Lynn, looking ahead, and a couple of drivers make their way to the pits, Arabian and Carlson. Right, this will be a good indication then. Let's see where these two come out. They make their way down the lane. No automatic limiter in these cars, you've just got to eyeball it. Keep a steady hold on your right foot, and they make their boxes. Right, 10 seconds or less is what they'll be hoping for, I imagine. Meanwhile, Sean Campbell and Aeronom are working together quite amazingly, actually. Sean Campbell absolutely under the rear bumper. Oh, and that was quite a heavy hit just for a second there. You've got to be careful with those kind of contacts.
Oh, they're miles ahead, aren't they? Absolutely miles ahead of the others. Carlson staging for 12.8, Arabian 14.3, which does indicate that Campbell might be in trouble with fuel. But I mean, if he's this close to Nom, then he's going to be saving a lot of fuel. And there are the other drivers coming out of the pits. The gap around 3 seconds, and they were fairly close to the top of that battle, weren't they? On top of the front pack. And so I don't think Bertoni and Panera and co are going to necessarily fare a whole lot better. So we've got 3 wide in the middle part of the lap. This is where it gets a bit tricky to do that. The 377 of Simpkins up the inside of all of them. Green, who started low down. Green's very slow on the inside there. Is that just him being cautious? I think it was. I thought he may even have a problem there. He was ever so slow compared to these other drivers. And Carlson now ahead of all these guys after previously fighting for the race lead.
Yeah, Green's gently approached that. Will have been frustrating Arabian, I imagine. Had to get well out of it when he just wanted to slice between these couple of drivers, keep tabs on Carlson, which I guess he sort of is now. He's still going to be in the draft, but even half a lap has cost them yet more time to Campbell and Aeronom. It's now up to 5 seconds between them. I think these guys are going to be fighting with anyone else who takes a little bit longer in the pits. We've just got 4 cars at the front, and as I say that, 2 more, Bertoni and Macdonald, Lynn and Fritcher, they're all making their way in now. We are past the halfway mark, so it makes sense. Most of the drivers should be concluding their pits. Just leaves Pinero, Naselli, and we're watching Walker at the moment. A driver who was unfortunately put round through no fault of his own. Moves up into 3rd momentarily, and then Delago. Spec 2 race leader, and Mccain 4th and 5th.
Yeah, Delago doing really well out there at the moment, and I could see Mccain up there. 20 places gained for Mccain, albeit very provisional. That's Lynn is coming out of the pit lane. So is Bertoni going to keep the lead here? I think he has done. That is very impressive there for Bertoni. I kind of ruled him out, but Bertoni stationed for 10.4 seconds. He's ahead of Nom, ahead of Campbell, and these other drivers now coming out of the pit. So Arabian is very much detached. Lynn is now with those guys, so Lynn's getting quite a bit during that pit stop sequence. Carlson there around as well. So actually it's probably a 3-car battle, isn't it? Because these 3, surprisingly, I mean, I'm not surprised that Nom and Campbell are up there, but I'm surprised that Bertoni has got the lead in all of that.
Yeah, is the only driver really to have come out of that front group and have a good lead, apart from obviously Sean Campbell earlier. But as we've been watching and waiting for all these other drivers to make their way through the lane, they've all come up short and have battered out or come out a couple of seconds or more behind. As it is though, Bertoni, excellent job by the number 11 to steal the effective lead as it is. We're watching from afar, Arabian leading. Oh, as I've got it in my ear that Aero Nom's just taken the lead, well, the effective lead off Bertoni there. Somewhere in the background should be Sean Campbell. There he is. He's a little bit detached though at the moment. Hopefully he hasn't fielded it too short, as finally Naselli and Pinero make their way in.
Yeah, Nom getting a little bit of a draft as well from the cars ahead. And we'll see where Naselli and Co come out. I imagine they will be Arabian, Carlson, Lynn range. I would have thought. Got very few drivers yet to pit. Walker just continuing on out there because he had that spin earlier on, had that net code with Marnie, which sent him back. He questioned where he would be if it weren't for that incident, as we wait on the drivers who are currently in the pits. Naselli up to 13 seconds. Surprised he had to be stationary for quite that long, actually. Naselli 13.2 seconds. I wonder if we are going to be close on an extra lap, because there is a strange wideness to the pit stop time so far, and a lot of other drivers also currently stationary. There are the Naselli and Pinero coming out of the pits. They are going to be right in the action with Arabian and Carlson and Co. So we kind of got a lead pack of 3 out of all of that, and then pretty much the same lead pack that we had previously behind that, just with those other 3 kind of scampering away, and maybe Simpkins apologies, Simpkins still needs to pit again, of course, but yeah, that's still got about 6 cars here, all in a train.
I don't think it should be that close on laps. I'm expecting, I think, 19 laps, which we're running at sort of 207s, 208s. I think we should be fairly snugly onto 19. I can't see it ticking over to 20 laps, but we'll wait for that to show down. 6 more laps time, we'll have our answer. Meanwhile, the number 96 Walker is taking his moment of fame at the front right now. He's all on his own, really. Only Alan Mccain even close to him, but that's another 6 seconds for our Spec 2 leader. Oh, someone was going very slowly on the exit of the pits, of the pit stop chicane, sorry. I'm not sure who that was. Just behind Alan Mccain there. As we head back to Pinero, he's out of the pits in 7th. Joined this sort of rejected pack, as it were, from the front group, unfortunately. Arabian, Naselli, Carlson and Lynn, all there or thereabouts. And finally, Walker and Mccain make their way down to the pits, and so our de facto leader will become our real leader. Just wait to see where Mccain comes out. Unfortunately, not in the battle for the Spec 2 this season. That's between Renders and Andalo. I'm not sure where those two drivers are in the standings at the moment. I don't know if you can spot them, Sam.
Who was that? Sorry, Endalo and...
Renders and Andalo are Spec 2.
I think Renders is... yeah, I'm not sure where is Renders at the moment. Andalo unfortunately isn't out there today. He was letting us know in the YouTube chat that he couldn't race today. Yeah, I'm not sure if Renders is out there.
No, I don't think Renders is out there either, is he? I think we've got a sort of a champion by default there, haven't we, in Renders? I don't think any of the other drivers were capable of making up that point at all. Especially with a drop score, he may well have decided that he can use his drop score as a non-scoring round and find some other racing tonight, perhaps. Meanwhile, though, we're very much with our own racing. Wang Qilin stuck in 7th for the moment. As you mentioned, he made plenty of places up with a short pit stop to get into this secondary group. Now let's see if he can fight his way forward, or if, like Sean Campbell, is a little bit shy on fuel and might have to be just backing off. Sean Campbell is actually at the front of this group now. He's having to back off that far. He's fallen completely away from the front two, and now he's going to be falling through this group as well, from the looks of it.
Yeah, oh wow, look at him lifting coast there. Jeez, he's so slow. And he's heavily underfueled as Campbell. I mean, I'm surprised because I thought he would just be able to stay under the bumper of another car and kind of just get, you know, towed to the line. But actually, it seems a bit more severe for Campbell, and he will lift off probably around the start-finish line, maybe even earlier than that. Seemingly, it's the extent of his problems. So he will use the jumps a bit here, but I think not full throttle, as indicated by Pinero storming round his outside. And Campbell will very soon be off the throttle. Let's now go. Yep, start finish line. So I think using the clutch as well to go into the corner. So yeah, he didn't put in that much less fuel, but of course he didn't save as much fuel either because he wasn't in that pack for as long as some of the other drivers. So yeah, he's driven himself into some trouble there as Campbell. That's a shame because he would have had a chance at a podium if not.
Yeah, only one driver has taken a shorter amount of time stopped in the pits than Sean Campbell, and that's Andreas Bertoni, who stopped for a grand total of just 10.3 seconds. So if he can make it to the end, challenging Aero Nom, I will be frankly amazed, because Sean Campbell has done nothing but lift and coast ever since he came out of the pits. And it's cost him nearly 6 seconds to the lead now. Well, in fact, he actually came out a couple of seconds ahead of Nom, so that's about an 8-second loss so far. I can't see how Bertoni can be managing it. Maybe he saved a little bit more whilst we were in that opening phase somewhere in the pack, but yeah, I think this might be Nom's wrapped up as the only driver to have put a sensible amount of fuel in.
Just to give a few of the other drivers some love, Jeff Jacobson in 14th place at the moment, up 8 places from his race start. Nunez top of the Masters category. I think he might be our 5th leader in the Masters, not quite sure. Bradshaw now 5 seconds behind him. Of course, we've had a few others. Burkett led for a little bit earlier on as well. These two in a nice battle, but actually just pushing each other along. It doesn't look like a battle whatsoever. It just looks like two guys helping each other out. It's good to see. Delago is battling Bradshaw in the background. Just see them coming over the crest. Over the crest is a flat track, but you get what I mean. Kern ahead of Cantor, ahead of Simpkins, and then also Burkett and Green battling out. Green having a bit of a mare. Can't remember what happened to Green earlier on. Qualified low down. Actually up 2 places from his start is Green, but he's got more pace than that. He's like 6th place in the Oval Championship, 4th place in the Oval Championship, I think is Green. So yeah, he is a red car in a sea of green and yellow. But the race is now moving on to lap 16, and this is getting a little bit tighter. Moving into position now. This is the battle from 3rd place down to ninth. And the good news is Campbell seems to be back up to pace, so maybe he's saved the fuel necessary, and now being towed along with these other guys is all he needs to get those extra few litres to reach the line.
Yep. Meanwhile, another of our predictions goes out the window. We said Aero Nom was going to set the fastest lap of the race with that amazing 2:06.3. Jörg Marni's just beaten it from absolutely nowhere. He's in 12th place at the moment on his own, and yet somehow he's just set a 2:06. Whether he found some back markers to benefit off on that last lap, I don't know. But yeah, Jörg Marni now claims fastest lap of the race. So we're 0 for 2 at the moment in our predictions, and I think we're going to be 0 for 3 because we did predict everyone across the line in a great big heat, didn't we? Whereas at the moment it's just going to be the two of them fighting it out.
Yeah. Oh, look at the run there for Arabian. He's wasting no time. He was a bit early on the brakes, however. Did not want to overtake necessarily. But, it is it's an interesting scenario. You don't want to necessarily be in the lead, but if you lift off like Pinero did there, you're leaving yourself so vulnerable to jars behind him. You can gain 3 places potentially on the brakes just because everyone's being so cautious ahead of you. As Nessé is now a sitting duck, goes up high, realises that he's going to lose the position, but will be able to dip into the draft of Arabian, and by the time they get into turn 1, he might be able to retake the lead in this training game.
Yep, we've got 5 cars here, all ducking and diving, weaving a bit out to each other. It's going to be like that for the remaining 3 laps, I imagine. They've all got to consider where they want to be in this lineup. Oh, Sean Campbell keeps his nose in on Arabian just for a split second longer than I thought was wise. Through turn 1 and the quick right-left kinks down to turn 4. Another heavy braking zone. Good overtaking opportunity if you want to go for it. Obviously on this lap, none of those drivers taking that option. We go on board with Campbell, 2 drivers in front of us. So we're going to follow him through the flat-out kink of 5. Important to then set yourself up for the braking zone for 6, and he's on the brakes very early still there, I think. Maybe a little bit of saving going on. Pick up your apex. Shoot out the other side, and then we've got another. It's not quite a hairpin, is it? Because it exits out onto the banking. But turn 7, another tight one to the left this time. Takes lots of curve on the inside there, which is something you can do there. Try and hook you round a little bit more. Ran up the banking ever so slightly, and then hug that yellow line. For the most part, Arabian though got a little bit of a run. He's going to climb up. Is he actually going to go for the move, or is he just wasting off his excess speed? No, he's going to take the move up into 3rd, and Campbell's going to follow him straight through. So yeah, as you said, Sam, I think Campbell's probably finished with his major fuel-saving operation. He can now fight for the podium.
Yeah, just hope he doesn't splutter across the line. It needs to hope that no one else splutters across the line. I think Lynn, well, I thought Lynn was running out of fuel, but he's actually back with these guys now. He's just had a poor couple of laps as Lynn in the high 2-minute 9s. But he's back on it. He's only 4/10 of a second behind. He's well in with a shout off the podium. Looked like Bertoni was dropping back. Gap was up to about a second at one point, but he was able to tow back up to Nom. And so far, we are not seeing any signs of him fuel saving. Well, he's fuel saving a bit. There you can see he's lifting and coasting there, but not enough to take him out of play for the race win. But he might not be doing enough. It's tricky to say, and that's not a very good line through turn 1 where he kind of fell off the camber, and now he's got to push hard to catch back up. No, lifting and coasting into the hairpin there, but I think just trying to push around the rest of this middle sector in order to, well, I guess it's the first sector, the infield, in order to catch back up to Nom and get the full yield of that draft. But he could still have a chance at this one, but Tony, albeit still that fuel is a question mark.
As cones get scattered by Aero Nom there, decides to take a very wide entry to 6 there. Used cones to help him slow down, a little bit of extra drag. In the background we can see that furious group of 6 cars, 7 cars even. Bad at counting tonight, clearly. Carlson, the number 22, off the back of it, 3rd to 9th. So we're watching Campbell again. He's got Lynn in front of him. Lynn climbing back up through the pack now, with only a couple of laps left to go. All these drivers will be very, very much aware of it. In fact, the next lap is going to be the last lap, isn't it, Sam? We've got 38 minutes on the clock. It's a 2-minute lap, so here we go. Everyone, place your bets. Who's going to end up where in this revolve of the wheel? Down into the braking zone for the penultimate time. Arabian catches all his apex and gets a very nice exit. Oh, as Campbell's right under Lynn. Trying to intimidate him here. Right, we've got a test run to the line here. 4 or 5 cars. Let's see who gets there first.
I mean, Arabian's got no chance as he look at the others catching him up. And the 30's going to go high Lynn. And he might just lead across the line. They've got a bit of back markers. They need to take that into consideration as well. But it seems it's fairly clear because there seems to be no one between them and these top 2. Now, Bertoni, is he lifting and coasting again? He was a bit, but it wasn't as much on the previous lap. So I think Bertoni has saved enough. And now Lynn is up into 3rd place. What a final kind of 10 minutes to this race he has gone. Looked like he was down and out, but he's been able to move his way through. Arabian did well. He was the lead of the train. He somehow stayed in 2nd place out of all that one. And now Campbell is just behind. But surely you don't want to beat Lynn here. Lynn is in a dreadful position. I'd back Naselli to beat Lynn from here. And Carlson, who's been very passive, really, after leading for a few laps earlier on. I think Carlson might be in the best position there. I think he's 5th in the train. And as long as there's space ahead of him to use, he could be in the box seat. And Bertoni seemingly is lining this one up nicely as Arabian. Well, maybe they do want the lead. Arabian now takes the lead of the race with a couple of long straights to go.
Yeah, the first 2 have surely got no hope here. You want to be at least 3rd, maybe even 4th or 5th in the line. We'll see them as they come to it. Meanwhile, Nom and Bertoni are already on the banking. This for the race victory. As we mentioned, race 4 victory for Aeronom this season. I don't think Bertoni's claimed one, has he, this year, or this season even? So it's all in his court, though. All he has to do is not overtake Aeronom until he's about halfway around the banking. Go through the chicane, leave yourself about a 6/10 lead gap. At the moment, it's half a second as they dive onto the brakes. Aeronom's going to try and carry as much speed as possible to try and build a gap. It's not going to be enough, though. They exit the chicane. Aeronom's got 4/10, and that time is just going to bleed away now. We go on board with Bertoni for what is surely a surefire victory. Time coming down and down and down. 3/10, 2.5 We ramp up. There's no danger of hitting the limiter here either. Aeronom goes high. Well, he's just moving over. Yeah, he's going to weave. He's going to weave. Surely it's not going to be enough. No, here comes Bertoni round the outside to claim it by a full car's length. Andreas Bertoni wins your final round. Let's go back to the next one. Here they are, 4 abreast. Lynn's on the inside. Oh! And he got beat by Pinero. Pinero snatches it by, well, what was that? Thousandths. I'd love a photo finish of that particular group. I'm shame it wasn't for the lead, but it's for the podium at the very least. Pinero takes it. From what I imagine was something like 7th the last time they were at the line. Here we go, an immediate replay, Sam.
I think Carlson and Arabian may have been a dead heat, and I think Pinero was only ahead of Lynn by 100. Here they come to the line. Oh, look at the barging! And that probably really hurt there. Arabian, I think. Oh, so Arabian was on the high line here. And look at Carlson as well, arriving at the last moment. And pick that one out. Absolutely craziness right there. So was it Carlson who I think got the... No, was it Carlson? No, it was Campbell, sorry, who got the big hit in the red car. I wonder if you could see another replay of that one, actually, to try to pinpoint everything that was going on. But yeah, absolutely amazing. That's the finish that we wanted to see.
Yeah, I think it was Pinero giving the hip and shoulder to Campbell, wasn't he? They were already 2 to 3 wide. And Pinero wanted a slot to make it 4 wide. Here we go. Yeah, he moves Arabian up. Then he moves in behind Lynn. Oh, and then he dives towards Campbell. Oh, very, very messy. That could have gone wrong so many ways. I'm amazed that Lynn was still in this fight, to be quite honest. Obviously, that little bit of bumping and boring helped serve Lynn up very well. Yeah, that was your battle for the podium. All of them covered by, well, what is that? Someone with a calculator can probably add it up quicker than I can, but certainly less than 2/10 for the 6 cars there.
I think.
As I believe that's all our drivers across the line now. Batenga we're focusing on comes home in 30th. Might be one more driver still on the lead lap. Yeah, Gould now comes across the line. Last driver on the lead lap claims 31st. For the Spec 2 driver in the number 664. And we'll have another look at the finish. I don't think there's anything Aaron Nom could have done here, is that he did what he could in weaving right and left, but Patoni just had far too much of a run, and he gets to the line by, like I said, a full car's length and a bit more.
Was I hearing someone spluttering? I don't know if he could ride on board with Nom there. I don't know, it just seemed like the engine note of someone was a bit inconsistent on the run to the line there, but I'm not quite sure, and he did seem to lose pace, but I guess it was just the draft. The race results, 10th of a second in the end, huge gap around this circuit. Pinero 6.7 seconds behind in the end, look at that, so 3 thousandths ahead of Lynn, who was ahead of Carlson, and then Arabian. Apologies. And then it was Campbell in 7th place, Naselli in 8th, Pritchard in 9th, then it was Walker, Macdonald, Mccain, Nunes, Bradshaw, Delago. Mccain top of the Spec 2 drivers, by the way, and Nunes top of the Masters drivers. Bradshaw and Delago were very close across the line, weren't they? Then it was Rodriguez, Marnie, Jacobson in 18th. I think Marnie got past Slab. That's some sort of consolation for him. In 19th place was Andrew Love. There was Stevie Ray, Mario Haraski, Just Simpkins, Jeff Cancer, Marcus Burkitt, Darren Kuhn, Antonio Reyes, Chris Murakami. Cool to see them to championship top 2 in the Masters. Both had problems, but cannot be separated, those 2 drivers. There was Gibson in 28th overall. Behind him was Warport, Boitenga, Gould, Sherman, Brewster, Nelson, Harris, Kern, Green, Hamda, Gaston, Mine, Maya, and then the drivers who did not start, Pastor, Conti, and Montgomery.
Yeah, 43 cars came, about 40 of those competed in that one. Excellent race as ever in the Spec Race 4 Weekend Warriors, and as ever we've got a few drivers already lined up in the waiting room, so I think I'm going to grab for ourselves Alan Mccain, the Spec 2 driver, joins us, having finished 12th overall. A fantastic fight through the field from 25th on the grid. Alan, welcome into the box. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, all good. Yeah.
I just mentioned there, you've obviously made some hell of a race to climb from 25th on the grid to 12. How was that from your perspective?
Yeah, it was one of them ones that just sort of thought I would play it out and in the slipstream, save a bit of fuel, see where I come out, sort of run it as low as I could, and then see where I come out and just sort of take it from there.
Yeah, you're one of the drivers who went into the pits for a full 14 seconds. Now, were you at all worried about your fuel consumption? We've got a vast difference between some drivers who've only come into the pits for sort of 11 seconds, some up to 16, 17 seconds to make sure they could get to the end. Were you comfortable with your fuel load?
Yeah, I had it pretty much worked out that I was only going to need roughly about 6 litres, so that would have got me through the race and a little bit extra just in case I had a spin or something.
And you came home basically sort of on your own. You'd cleared off from Nunez in the last few laps there. Obviously earlier in the race you'll have been banging and boring. You also came into the pits quite early. Was that more to get out of any battles?
No, I was one of the last ones in the pits, so I was. I came in, I was actually second placed because all the rest of the guys had pit it. I had pit it with the leader at the time, which was James Walker. We were the last 2 in, so it was kind of one of them things, just sort of ride it out, see how far I could take it, and then see how little fuel I could take, and it just kind of worked out where it did.
All right, Alan. Yeah, I've read the long line on my information. Lap 13 you did come into the pits. We've come to the end of the season now. 12 races in the books. Have you got any thoughts for us on just how this has gone this year?
Not the way I wanted it realistically after winning last year, but I would say congrats to Thomas, who's not with us tonight. Other than that, it was a pretty good season. barring my few mess-ups I've had throughout the year.
And I imagine we're going to see you for the runoffs next week, and then season 3 the week after that will be kicking off.
Yeah, certainly I'll be there, no problem.
Wonderful. We look forward to seeing you in both of those then. Before we let you go, if you just want to give a final shout out.
Shout out to Stevie for organising the league, all the drivers for taking part, and I can't forget teammate Errol Nom for winning the championship. Was it 7th or 8th time or something?
Yeah, another one in the bag for Aero there. Unfortunately, couldn't quite claim the win tonight, but 3 wins this season for him as well. Thank you very much for joining us, Alan.
Thank you.
And Sam, I'll hand over to you. You've got a choice of drivers.
Yes, I will drag up our Masters champion, Chris Murakami, who joins us in the commentary box now. Chris, we will get on to the best parts of this season in a moment.
That sounds good.
First, we'll go to one of our worst moments of the season for yourself. That turn 1. What happened from your perspective?
Well, I was making sure there's a guy on the outside, and he was coming up, and I was making sure that I wasn't going to drift over that way. And after looking at the replay, it looked like Antonio drifted a little bit and tapped me, and I couldn't control the spin, and yeah, ended up in last.
It gave me a little bit of a giggle when going through the final race results that you and Antonio ended up being next to one another in the standings. So there was only about 4 seconds between you two in the end, despite both having problems. It seems like you two are very evenly matched. Do you think that battle will continue into next season?
Well, next season is for me, it's summer, so I think summertime it's very difficult for me to get about 50% of my races in. So yeah, it'll be wide open for whoever wants it, I guess. But no, myself, I won't be able to attend quite a few of them.
Well, give someone else a chance, which is very kind. When you look back on this season, you've won a lot of races. I mean, you've had some top 6s, I think a couple of top 6s. Is there a highlight for you when you look back at these past 12 weeks?
I was pretty consistent till this last race, and maybe I'm not sure what happened to the race before that too. Yeah, the last two races when it came down to it, where I was in the run for like top 5 overall, and I guess I kind of just got caught up that last week. It was my own problem. I spun on a corner. I rarely ever spin on that corner, but hit the curb and lifted it just enough, and that took me out of there. And yeah, I was just hoping I'd get into top 5, but I'm not sure what's gonna happen. If I made it, I kind of doubt it.
Well, to finish in, I imagine you'll still be top 10 overall. It's still super impressive. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
I just want to thank my mom for everything. She had a major stroke about a year ago, and she survived it and made it through this COVID. She got COVID too, so I just want to thank her for everything, and I want to just thank everybody that's involved with the Weekend Warriors. Yeah, it's a great, it's a lot of fun.
Sure is. Thanks for having a chat with us, Chris, and hope to see you back in some capacity next season.
Oh yeah, thanks. I'll be there, just not every weekend though.
Awesome. See you then.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Chris Murakami there, your Masters champion for this season. Adam, I think you have one more interview.
Yeah, seeing as it's the end of the season, we've got our traditional interview with series organiser Stevie Ray. Stevie, welcome in. I imagine I can just hand the mic over to you and let you wind down what has been yet another excellent season.
Oh yeah, thanks guys. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a good season. We've had really good participation. Really excited for next season. We got a few changes coming up with Weekend Warriors overall, so can't really announce it just yet, but there should be a really big announcement coming out this week. So kind of excited about that. Our traditional Week 13 V runoffs are going to be next week. Same time broadcast. We'll have 2 races, one for the F4 and one for the Spec Racer Fords. We'll be doing it at Road America this time in honor of the SCCA June sprints that are there every year. So that's their second biggest to their runoff. So we figured that would be appropriate. But again, like you said, I like to come in and just thank everybody that makes the league what it is. It's nothing without these guys. These guys week after week make it such a great league, and it's caught some eyes, and it will definitely show here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's definitely a mainstay league here on the iRacing service, isn't it? And next week, that sounds fabulous. F4s and the specs at Road America. That should be an absolute blast. I want to know if you've got any highlights from the season you'd want to give us.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. It's been a good championship. There for a little bit, it looked like some of the guys could close in on the leaders, but this season, all 3 classes were kind of taken over. So I think the bar's been raised a little bit. I think Arrow had some more competition this season than he's seen before, so that's a good thing. We're all getting better because of it.
Wonderful. And we all look forward to next week's run out with you.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. You guys do a great job also. Appreciate you. Appreciate Race Voice for staying there with us for so long and supporting and making these broadcasts possible. So, again, thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Stevie, for joining us there, series organizer. I think we best just reiterate his thanks for our series sponsor, Race Voice. Go faster with the speed of voice. This competition wouldn't be what it is, and will be without their input. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to our drivers for coming in every single week. 40 plus drivers show us just exactly what they can do, and of course the viewers at home for joining us and so thoroughly being entertained. We hope we'll be doing it all again next week with the runoffs, as Stevie's just mentioned, and then season 3 kicks off in just 2 weeks' time. Prior to that, though, I wonder if we've got a little bit of extra racing to bring you on the Apex channel, Sam?
Yes, we sure do. Every single week we've got lots of broadcasts on Apex Racing TV. The iRacing Israel League is tomorrow. Also the Rick Midtech Classic Sprint Series, Ray Esports as well. I think we might have Nordic F3 maybe on next Thursday. The Apex Racing Academy Formula 4 Championship as well is going to be on Saturday. We've also got the relaunch of the Radical Racing Challenge, the official series. That will be starting not on Friday, but the Friday after, I believe, week 1 of the official series, and a lot of other series as well will be relaunching as well on week 1 after a little bit of a week 13 break. So yeah, plenty of stuff coming up on Apex Racing TV over the coming days.
Fabulous. Looking forward to all of that. As now we're wrapping up our broadcast. Before I go, I'd just like to remind you, Apex Racing TV YouTube channel, take the time to like this video or subscribe to the channel. We're also available on your social media channel of choice. Just look out for Apex Racing TV on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram. I hope you've enjoyed the time you spent with us tonight and throughout this excellent Season 2 2022 of the Spec Racer Weekend Warriors. I've been Adam Hadfield, with me Sam Fitzpatrick, and on cameras as ever Jonathan Grabowski. Wherever you are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening and good night.